I grew up on Malcolm X, Huey Newton, Marcus
Come
Garvey.
on.
Bro, like, so when you talk about not only do I want change, I know how to make it and make it better for our people. And that's the thing. And so it's like when we talk about things like integration has failed our people, and I'm not afraid to say it. You know, and so many people want to condemn me and want to demonize me and want to say that I'm an extremist or a separatist because I say integration failed. No, there was a systemic attempt at breaking and diminishing our communities and our people before integration.
Right.
So that when we got to the table, we were sitting on a one-legged stool. You know what I mean? So when it comes to integrating, that's an exchange of ideas and an exchange of goods and services. No, we came begging. We came begging for doctors' offices. We came begging for businesses to buy from. We came begging for hotels to sleep at. We came begging for cars to rent, and we came begging for buses to step onto. We did not integrate. We subjugated, right? So we got to reverse that stuff.
Now,
you know, and those are the things that really break us down.
To piggyback that's also to understand, and when I say this, if you don't know where I'm coming from, please research when I say this. That's to understand redlining. Redlining essentially created ghettos in the United States of America. And for those who don't understand what redlining is, redlining was basically realtors and banks in bed together saying that if you are of this ethnic background, no matter if you can afford it or not, no matter what your job was, what your career was, what your credit score looked like, we will not sell to you in these areas.
Unfortunately, I got 13 years of real estate experience under my belt, so we're going to have to talk about redlining for a minute because, like, that's one of them topics that I think really, really affects our community. And we talked about, like, you know, Section 8 and then transitioning to actually home ownership. But, like, we have banks in Western New York that are guilty of redlining here in the past decade.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not, we're
I
not
know
removed.
because of my father. He went to the military,
Evans
gained a
Bank.
paycheck, came back, and they said, we won't sell to you.
Evans Bank was guilty of redlining. They had to pay a $750,000 fine to the state of New York for redlining in 2015. We're not that far removed. But not only that, they get a whole stop on the Metro line. They're the only bank with a stop on the Metro line. So not only do they discriminate against black and brown people in our community, but then we put them up on a pedestal.
They receiving our dollars,
man. Right? And when you go down Elmwood, they have the biggest, nicest branch on Elmwood. Everybody puts them on a pedestal. Evans Bank is guilty for redlining.
I want to hear Neal. He over there in thought.
Well, I'm an economics major, so some good points being made. But I think you got to be careful about some things too. You got to remember. So, the crash of 07, right?
Yeah.
Who got affected by it the most? Black people, right? People who are, you know, in the lower brackets of income. And what happened was it was a genuine attempt to give out loans to people. And it turned out that some of these people couldn't pay these loans back. It was predatory. Yes, that's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe some people when that was going on, some people thought, oh, we're gonna help these people out, but really, what it led to was The Big Short.
Yeah.
So, you know, I
and all that stuff started under the Clinton administration. I know everybody wants to blame George W. Bush for a housing crash. But
they were
the
giving out. So you know what I'm talking
Fannie Mae
about.
and Freddie Mac,
Yeah.
And then the opening of these mortgage investment pools for the entire country to start bidding on.
Right.
That brought us to the mortgage crisis, and that was all done. And I think George Bush just expedited it with the repeal of Glass-Steagall.
Right.
You know it. So you already know. You just finished my whole entire thing. Is that I think we have to be careful about just thinking that money is going to be the solution to everything. We need solutions. We need solutions for like getting people to own property, getting people to start a business, getting people to contribute to pushing the needle forward of our country, and not just throwing money at it or like a Band-Aid. You know what I'm saying? Like putting Band-Aid on cancer. Like minimum wage, man. Like this is another topic. You touched on minimum wage. People should be making $15, $20 an hour. No doubt about that. However, we've been raising the minimum wage incrementally for the last 100 years, and every time it happens, it's a reprieve for 10 years, maybe 5 years, and then all of a sudden $10 an hour is the same as $2 an hour.
Yeah.
So my opinion on that is we need more incentivization of these businesses to do exactly.
And we need
to do the right thing.
I'm all for, like, we're a country that was built on immigrants, and some people may not like what I'm about to say. Some of my closest friends are immigrants. But I think we need less incentives for fresh immigrants building businesses in our country. And tax breaks.
What do you mean by less incentives? I'm just wondering.
One of the incentives are tax breaks and loans. That they come to our country. Like I told you,
I see what you're saying.
I grew up working.
I just wanted to clarify that.
And When I say what I'm about to say, some of you may look at me like I'm crazy. You may not believe this is going on, but I worked in Arabic stores most of my life. And that's how I learned Arabic. Well, some of it. And it came to a realization real early. These people come over, and I don't say these people in a way I'm equality all the way. But they come over, and they purchase a store. Now you have 7 years of tax-free income.
Right.
They utilize that to then build that income, buy up homes in our neighborhoods, and then send for the next.
I think everyone should have 7 years of tax-free income when they open a business.
We need that tax money.
I think
we
that
need it for our roads.
That's what I'm saying. I think people in house should be able to have access to opportunities like that
before we give it.
That's
to somebody,
finance.
you know what
that's
I mean?
that's
like,
fiscally conservative right there.
Because meanwhile, while you're giving them tax breaks to build a business, we're sending our companies overseas the 1%.
Yeah. No, that's a big problem too.
I like looking at that program and saying that's something that we could definitely benefit and use in our community. But I think that one of the things that we have to just be careful of is looking at somebody else that's receiving and somebody else that's struggling and somebody else that's getting provided for and saying, okay, we need that, not them. You know what I mean? And because that creates
that's dangerous.
It is dangerous. But I get where you're coming from.
But it's more or less like this is to understand
like how
that
could you
we
give this to somebody that belongs.
It's not even that. It's to understand. Like, look about your Listen, Gotti, waladim ana bahibbik. I'm not talking crap, Gotti. Y'all don't kill me when y'all hear this. Like, I grew up around these people. I understood the language. I fell in love with Arabic people. But I came to the understanding that we spend our dollars in here. If you don't get close to them personally, they no less care about you like the boot on their shoe, bro.
Yeah.
That's most people in this capitalist society. They just here to
but
make their money.
My dollars is coming into your store and it's tax free, and you not putting none of that back into my community.
And
I understand. Like,
I'm
all for. I'm all for. I want everybody to be able. We need more immigrants. Everybody come and do better. But if I'm spending my money,
you just said the solution in your posing problem is incentivizing people to keep the money in here, like to recirculate the money in this country and not just keep it in your pocket, sending it overseas.
But it's not even like in this country. Like, I emphasize to my people who spend money in your corner store, if you don't see them putting money back in your community, put your dollar elsewhere.
Right.
That's what it comes down to. It's understanding that our communities stay down based on there's a liquor store in almost every one of our corners, bro.
So there was a local study.
Then you got a church and an Arabic store. So our money is going out. It's not coming back.
Yeah, that's a problem.
The success of your community is based on how many times a dollar will circulate there.
Come on,
yeah.
bro.
So like in the town of Amherst, I think on average a dollar circulates 7 times before it leaves the community. So that means that there's at least 7 people, 7 families, 7 businesses that are benefiting from every single dollar that's spent there. When you go to the east side of Buffalo, the stat is it's like 1.5 times it circulates before it leaves the east side of Buffalo.
Bro.
So you're thinking in terms of this, and this is what I'm thinking now, is how do you incentivize to keep the money circulating without putting a gun to people's head and say pay tax? That's the question.
I think an incentive would be to do block club parties or give the neighborhood stuff for school. Like, do something that shows that you at least will care, can care, and are sufficient enough in your personality to care about the community you set up your business.
Yeah.
Hold them accountable.
Yeah.
Hold them accountable.
We need after school programs. We need iPads. We need computers. We need tutors.
Yeah.
We need life coaches. We need social counselors. You know how many single parents are out there right now as we speak that are at work and they got a 12-year-old at home because they have nothing else to do with this child?
At the end of the day, we got to
put up, like, there should be something for everybody.
That's what I'm saying. We got to get people involved in this, in pushing things forward, in progressiveness. Like, people need to be a part of this country, like, in every and it, you know, like, we push the needle forward. Like, everyone needs to play a part in that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And by doing that is what integration would be like. That's how you really integrate, is when everybody's participating together, not just these people over here doing this and then those people over there, you know, hoping to get some scraps at the bottom. You know what I'm saying?
We need more inclusion, no matter your ethnic background, what you believe in, no matter what your religion is, no matter where you come from in classism. We need inclusion. What are you going through? How can I make it better?
We need more people in positions of leadership that are willing to articulate the issues and able to articulate the issues that exist for our communities and our people, so that we can actually start realizing the actual things holding us back, right?
Yeah.
And that's what's important. But that's why the people like Martin Luther King and the people like Malcolm X and the people like Huey Newton, that's why they were silenced.
Yeah.
You know, because it's not because of the movement that they were pushing, but it was because of the information that they were bringing to the people.
Yeah.
And that information is so crucial for us.
There's a lot of evidence, overwhelming evidence, that Malcolm X was killed by the Nation of Islam.
I mean,
Louis Farrakhan
said
Louis Farrakhan was asked, because there's rumors that he had something to do with it, that they didn't like how he was, whatever, and they said, and Louis Farrakhan said, yeah, I might have had something to do with it. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I mean,
that's wild. Martin Luther King, though, that's
I
just.
believe that was at the time he because I piggyback that every time you say it because it cringes me a little bit.
Yeah.
That was also the understanding he had to be silenced, and the government wanted to silence him. He was going to call out, or he was thought to have wanted to call out, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad for how he was carrying himself.
Yeah, that's what it was.
You know what I mean? And he was doing the interviews with the women.
But you know
that were like, so
you know what fascinates
just like
me, though?
The Nation of Islam backdoored him.
No.
But
the fans wanted to silence him, and they knew the best way to get next to him was through his own people.
What continues to fail us as a community, and that's even here in Western New York, is we allow people to get in our ears, right? And we allow people to change our perception, our views of other people. And I think that's one of the things that's really killer, because, like, you know, with Malcolm X, like there's conversations that were recorded, you know, from the FBI. Like they had his phone calls tapped. You know what I mean?
They were onto him. They were
feeding false information to his,
he was a genius
to his friends. They were feeding false information to his enemies. You know, they were feeding false information to the Nation of Islam about what he was talking about and the things that he was doing, and trying to manipulate people into causing harm against him. So if I'm asked if I believe the Nation of Islam killed Malcolm X, like, I know the government I know the government wanted to get rid of Malcolm X because
that's true.
Because the message that he was carrying was so important and so vital for our people, and it was going to bring real change. And he is the one civil rights leader. I will not stop saying his name. Every single t-shirt.
He's a genius.
When I wear a t-shirt, my t-shirt either has Malcolm X or has Huey Newton on it.
Yeah.
Because their messages are what's pure for our people.
Now, Malcolm X, I'll tell you this right now, I don't agree with everything he said at all. So Malcolm X and Martin Luther King kind of had two different approaches to the same problem.
Right.
Just like how we are talking right now, we don't agree on everything right now at this table, but we agree that there's a problem that needs to be fixed.
Right.
So we're all trying to find a solution to the same problem. We just had different solutions for it, right?
Right.
Well, I'm kind of under I'm kind of under the Martin Luther King umbrella, where I really think that thinking everything in terms of race is not the best way to do this. Like, and I get it. We have to identify who's getting targeted. We got to identify who's getting left out. Those are things we should not ignore. At the same time, though, if we put every single category in terms of race, it's going to be divide and conquer. We're just going to put each other against each other all the time.
This is the thing, though, and Malcolm X wasn't for white people, and then that's what you have to understand.
Right.
Like, Malcolm X was here to speak to us.
Yeah.
And that's why he didn't run for political positions.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's why he wasn't out here trying to influence elections.
That's exactly.
And that's why he told you, don't even look at the presidential. Look at who's running for your county legislators, for your city county council, for the people that are impacting your areas. So, like, you know, he was speaking a lot about black, but that's because he was speaking to black people, and he needed to reach us, and we needed that message, because what he was bringing was an idea of black nationalism, which was 100% Malcolm X's goal from the time that he got out of jail, from the time he started working with the Nation of Islam, to the time that he broke off and factioned off into his own, was an idea of dignity for the black man, the idea of self-sufficiency for the black men and women, right? And for providing for a family that is whole and not one that's broken by the system that exists. So, like, that's really what he was going towards. And his message, and you're going to look in my Facebook post, bro, you go back to 2019, 2020, I speak to our people because it's like we need that message. And if it's offensive to white people, sometimes it just has to be, because we got to reach our people.
Yeah.
And we got to make sure that they understand that not only, you know, do they need to change, right? But here's how you change. And here's the reason why you're in that position that you're in the first place. And it's because there was a systemic attempt to get you there. So, like, that's really the message that Malcolm X brought to me.
Yeah.
So, like, I get that people have issues with his racial undertone to it, and that's probably why, that's a big reason why he's not in the history books today, which is a
that's
huge
a bigger reason why people like myself will gravitate more towards Martin Luther King, because he said, judge people by the character, not the content, not the color of the skin, but the content of their character. Everyone should agree with that. If you don't agree with that, you're just a racist.
Facts.
But back to my point is like one of the things Malcolm X said that I take with me all the time. I love it is, and this is political. He said, the conservative will tell you what he thinks. They'll tell you whatever they think. They'll tell you what's on their mind, and you might not like it. But the white liberal, is like a wolf in sheep's clothing. The white liberal is going to come over to you and say, "Yo, we want to help you. We want to vote for us."
Did you say Biden? I'm sorry.
We're going to help you. Don't worry.
It's unfortunate that too many of us have been tricked into the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Because it's like, the Democrats don't really represent. The Democrats don't represent. Right, the change that black people need and the change that America needs. I'm 100% honest, and the reason why I'm running as a Democrat is because that's where most of my people are currently registered, and I plan to take the party somewhere else. Like I'm running for the position of sheriff, which is an executive position. If I get that position, which I plan to, I don't have to answer to the helms of a legislative body. Right. I don't have to answer to the helms of Jeremy Zellner, who is or whatever his name is, the president of the local DNC chapter. You know what I mean? Like the sheriff, if you ask any politician right now what they're doing to take care of Sheriff Howard, they always shrug, oh, Sheriff Howard's got too much power. So obviously that's the position we need to take and really push to making change.
I think, I don't usually, and like I said, I'm talking about thinking in terms of race. I don't usually do this, but for this particular instance, I will say this. I think a solution to the police brutality problem is more black people need to become cops. Right. More black people need to become judges. More black people need to become sheriffs.
That's why I'm running for sheriff, bro.
I agree with that. And you know what?
When I was out here, all these counter protesters
speak out too,
and that's why Carriol's law is so important, right? But it's not just Carriol's law. They need better leadership. Somebody that says, "Look, Blue Lives Matter is not a thing in this department."
Blue life's been mattering for too damn long. Look at LA.
There's no such thing as a blue life to me because, like you were saying, like we shouldn't be thinking in terms of color. Like blue is ultimately a color. At the end of the day, it's a color that none of us can even relate to.